If you're a founder going through a breakup, this video is for you. Founders are very good at doing this one thing, and it is putting things in a box. You wake up, you make decisions, you run your company, and you just say like, oh yeah, the breakup, I'll just deal with that later. And sometimes that works, right? At least for a short period of time, like the company's moving forward, the team's showing up, revenue's still coming in, maybe you're even growing, right? And so you're able to tell yourself like, oh yeah, my breakup totally isn't affecting me or my company. But let me ask you a question. If you are sleeping worse, if you're checking your social media late at night, if you're watching more porn than you normally do because you're feeling lonely, if your mind keeps replaying conversations in the quiet moments, if you even give yourself quiet moments, can you honestly say that your breakup isn't affecting you or your company or your decision making? Ironically, great founders actually obsess over identifying the biggest risks in their company, right? Like market, cash flow, team, what have you, and they like directly try and solve that risk. But I feel like very few founders are asking, is my emotional state a risk to the company? Because if you're distracted, if your sleep is off, if your focus is off, your leadership is affected. Your decision making is affected. There's no two ways about it. And great founders like you don't ignore risks, right? They address them head on and they attack them with courage. Quick context on me, in 2016, I founded a company called Elevate Ultimate. It's the largest ultimate frisbee program for kids in the world where we coach over 10,000 kids a year. And the reason I care so much about this topic is because last April in 2025, after 8.5 years with my partner, she asked for a divorce. And the strange part, just like I'm sure you're going through, is that the business didn't stop, right? Like I still had responsibilities, I still had people relying on me, I still had a team to manage. And so like a lot of founders, I had the instinct to just stay busy, right? Like either work on the business or go travel or just like go out and date and just don't think about my ex. I traveled solo for the first time for 5 weeks in Europe and just thought that was going to solve all my issues. But of course, I come back from the trip and I'm, of course, the same man with the same problems. And I realized I actually have to process the emotions that I'm going through instead of just avoiding them. So I started doing the work. I leaned heavily into the men's group I was part of. I dove deep into IFS therapy, reading every single book that I could about emotional processing. And over a very intense couple months, I started to really understand what had actually happened in my previous relationship and also, more importantly, my role in it. And thankfully, because of all that work, today I'm in a really healthy relationship that's great on my nervous system. I feel very clear on my life purpose and mission and values, and I'm extremely clear on how I want to show up as a partner and a leader in my company. And all that experience is what led me to build the Founder Breakup Reset program. Because what I realized is a lot of founders are carrying the burden of building a company, and they're going through one of the most destabilizing events they'll ever go through, and they're all trying to do that all alone, which doesn't usually work out. What I've noticed is that breakups rarely result in immediate collapse, right? The business isn't going to collapse overnight, but it's kind of the slow leadership leakage, less patience in meetings or with coworkers, more mental replays when you're trying to focus, avoiding difficult conversations or working more hours, but kind of feeling unclear of why you're even working so hard. One founder in my first cohort, he runs a $1.5 million roofing business. And when I asked him what was the hardest part of the breakup while still running his company, he said, losing the person that he used to share wins with, loneliness, and losing sight of the reason why he was working so hard. That's what I mean by leadership leakage, right? On the outside, the company still might be operating, but the foundation is off balance. This is exactly why I created the Founder Breakup Reset. It's a private, structured 12-week protocol specifically designed for founders going through a breakup while running their company. This is not therapy, this is not a generic support group, this is not a place to vent and just bash our exes. This is a step-by-step, methodical approach to help you process your breakup and start building your company from a more healed and whole place. There are 3 main phases in the Founder Breakup Reset. The first is stabilization. So working with our nervous system to settle down the constant rumination, settle down the late night chatter, and settle the emotional spikes, because if a nervous system isn't in a good spot, clarity and moving forward is really impossible. Then we move into understanding, like what actually happened during the relationship? What was your role in it? Where were you avoiding conflict? What's your relationship with anger and how was it showing up in your relationship? What's your relationship with shame and grief and how are you processing that? And for founders, this gets interesting because how you showed up in your romantic relationship probably correlates with how you're showing up in your company. It could show up as conflict avoidance, approval seeking, boundary issues, carrying too much responsibility and not delegating. And once we shine light on some of those shadows, that's when you can start to actually repair and build a new identity. Which leads us to the final phase, which is rebuild. Going from scratch and going, now that I'm not in this previous relationship, what are my new values? What is my life purpose? What do I want in the next relationship? What kind of leader do I want to be coming out of this next chapter? Handled poorly, breakups can become baggage, but handled properly, this can be one of the biggest identity upgrades you can ever have in your life. Each cohort is entirely made out of founders, and for now, they are all going to be men. Guys that are leading teams, carrying real responsibility, and all going through a breakup just like you. This is a unique situation because most founders are pretty isolated already. You know, they can't really talk to their employees, they can't talk to their investors. Maybe they have a friend or two that they can talk to about this, but no one that really gets the pressure and the emotional toil that you're going through. Each cohort is intentionally small. It's a maximum of 6 founders per cohort, and each person has to be doing a minimum of $250,000 in revenue. So if you're a founder going through a breakup and you're kind of avoiding the breakup and you think the business is doing fine, this program is for you. The next step is to click below and apply for a short intro call where we can have a conversation and see if it's a right fit for both of us.